And good afternoon. Thanks for joining 13 News on WTHR Plus. I'm Scott Swan. We're starting August like we ended July in terms of the weather. Want to give you a live look at downtown Indianapolis. Scattered storms are possible today. In fact, some could be severe. Meteorologist Matt Standridge is tracking the potential threat. So what do we have going on right now?
Yeah, mostly southern Indiana has a lot of windstorms right now.
Okay.
Bloomington south to about Seymour. So we're going to track those. But we've got a couple new cells just in the past 5 minutes popping up around Indianapolis that we need to track as well. But overall, the highest severe risk will be south. So let's get to it. I want to show you the weather maps this evening. We have a weather impact alert for today because of the severe risk that is likely throughout the rest of the evening. So right now we've got a severe thunderstorm watch for the southern half of Indiana. Does not include Indianapolis right now. You see these nasty windstorms pressing east by about 40 miles per hour. Right now, closer to Indy, we've got a couple new cells. Looks like one just near Pittsburgh right now got a new lightning strike, so that one is strengthening. Once you see some lightning, it's a good sign that they are starting to beef up a little bit. But most of the activity is farther to the south of Lake Monroe. We've got a couple severe thunderstorm warnings with this as well as it pushes off towards the east, but we're trying to time out maybe Scottsburg about 4:15, Austin 4:18, close to Sellersburg about 4:20 or so, give or take. But we've got some nasty storms off towards the south, so if you have to head south over the next couple of hours, watch out for those. Closer to Indy, we are dry, but the clouds are getting real puffy, and they're getting really tall right now. Got a new cell there just west in Brownsburg and Pittsburgh right now. Got a new cell north of Noblesville, and what we're expecting over the next couple of hours is a few more storms to pop up. In fact, there's about a 60% chance the National Weather Service puts out another severe thunderstorm watch from Indy off towards the east through Richmond and into Dayton. Reason why? We've seen a south wind starts to surge. Take a look at this heat index map. It feels like it's 100 degrees right now in Shelbyville. It is soupy out there, and that includes much of eastern Indiana. So farther off to the east, we may see more cells. So keep an eye out. Muncie, Richmond, Newcastle, Knightstown. We could be in for a couple cells popping up. So that's why we have a weather impact alert for today. Watch out for scattered storm chances until about 8 o'clock. Even the new cells for eastern Indiana, 8 to 9 o'clock is probably a good cutoff time for those, and then quieter conditions overnight tonight other than a spotty shower. But the biggest threat will be some gusty winds as more of these storms try to pop up. We're under level 2 severe risk for the rest this evening. So we've got a lower potential of severe weather, but it is there. Right now, we're still watching that big complex in southern Indiana, but watch for additional storms off to the north as it heats up with the sun coming back out across eastern Indiana. By about 8, 9 o'clock, we should be mostly clear, and we'll have quieter conditions overnight tonight, which will be some good news. One more round, Scott, of maybe some potential weather tomorrow. We've got some more scattered downpours on the way. The severe threat does look lower. After tomorrow, starting this weekend, Scott, we've got more sunshine and quieter weather.
Yeah, it looks like a very nice weekend. Thank you, Matt. Thousands of students all across Indianapolis just completed their first day of school today. Anna Chalker shows us how students from one of our state's largest school districts got to and from school today.
Before these kids make their way into school Wednesday morning, bus drivers are out before the sun comes up.
We ran dry runs. We practiced these routes for several weeks now. We're ready to go.
First Student, IPS's bus company, says this summer has been full of inspections, route changes, and hiring new drivers. The company says for years they've struggled to have a full staff, but this year they have more drivers than buses.
Overall, it's going to help efficiency and effectiveness for the district and for us as a transportation department.
This year, the buses will separate between 4 zones. Instead of driving a route that goes through the entire district, drivers will only take students to and from the school inside that zone. In total, over 20,000 students will take the bus to school this year. The company says even with so many students, the drivers will build personal relationships with all of them.
As a driver, you don't know every kid day one, right? So when that student gets on the bus, we're going to start learning them, build that relationship with them.
The bus company tells us these next couple of weeks are going to be a lot of trial and error as everyone gets used to this new routine. But they say if you have any questions, you should reach out to them. We have ways to do that on our website, WTHR.com. In Indianapolis, Anna Chalker, 13 News.
Today we received a new mugshot of Richard Allen. He is the man accused of killing the 2 girls in Delphi. This is from the Cass County Jail where Richard Allen is staying this week. Now, during today's hearing in nearby Carroll County, Allen's team laid out what it hopes will be much of its defense strategy during the upcoming trial. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel was in court today for all of today's revealing testimony.
Day 3 of pretrial hearings in the Delphi murders case focused on whether the defense is going to be able to tell a jury about their theory that someone other than Richard Allen committed the murders. And this morning we heard more than 2 hours of testimony from an expert in ritualistic crime scene investigations. Dr. Dawn Perlmutter helps teach and train FBI agents. She was asked about the crime scene of Abby Williams and Libby German, and she said, in my opinion, this was a textbook ritual murder. She went on to explain the way the girls were killed, how their bodies were positioned, where they were found, and symbolism at the crime scene, all point to murders consistent with ritual killings by people who believe in Odinism. Prosecutor Nick McLeland pushed back on that opinion, pointing out that the expert shared that conclusion nearly a year ago on a TV program, long before she got to review the actual crime scene evidence. This afternoon, the defense team will call some police investigators to testify, and we expect them to explain why they also believe it was another suspect, or several suspects, not Richard Allen, who might have committed the murders. If the defense team wants to tell the jury about those alternate suspects, first, they're going to have to convince the judge that there is a clear link between those alternate suspects and the actual murders. The prosecutor says there is no evidence linking any of those alternate suspects to the crime scene. Lots more testimony coming up on 13 News at 6. In Delphi, Bob Siegel, 13 News.
Former Colts player Daniel Mure and his wife Kristen Mure were in court today. A judge granted them supervised contact with the teen son Daniel Mure is accused of assaulting. 14-year-old Bryson Mure was the subject of a silver alert after his grandmother posted a photo of him with a black eye. The Mures are both charged with obstruction of justice after a SWAT raid ended in their arrest. Today, the judge set the jury trial for November 4th. A Wall Street Journal reporter and a former U.S. Marine are among 24 people released from Russian prisons. They were freed today in what's being described as the biggest prisoner swap between the United States and Russia since the end of the Cold War. Laura Geary tells us how it happened.
They are free. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gerskovich and former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan are safely in U.S. care this hour, released as part of the largest prisoner swap between the U.S. and Russia since the Cold War. In all, 7 countries and 24 detainees were involved in the complex exchange. At the White House, President Joe Biden was joined by several members of the hostages' families.
Multiple countries helped get this done. They joined the difficult, complex negotiations at my request. So for anyone who questions whether allies matter, they do. They matter.
For Whelan, his release ends more than 5 years in a Russian hard labor colony after being convicted for espionage. Gerskovich was recently sentenced to 16 years in Russia for the same, after being held for nearly a year. The State Department had designated all U.S.-related prisoners as wrongfully detained. More than a dozen Russian prisoners were part of the swap, among them a colonel with the Russian Secret Service who was jailed in Germany, the highest-ranking prisoner demanded by Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Vadim Krasikov. This is a guy who killed someone in a Berlin park in 2019. He's an operator. This is a murderer.
The reality of hostage, if we sat around and waited for equal deals, we'd bring nobody home. This is going to be a legacy piece for President Biden.
We stand for freedom, for liberty, for justice, not only for our own people, but for others as well. And that's why all Americans can take pride in what we've achieved today.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
United Airlines is bringing sustainable aviation fuel to a 5th airport. The airline says it purchased SAF to use at its hub at Chicago O'Hare Airport. It's expected to arrive there this month. United says the goal is to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2050. The airline is already using sustainable fuel in Los Angeles, San Francisco, London, and Amsterdam. The Biden administration is proposing a rule banning airlines from charging parents extra money to have their kids sit next to them. White House officials say the fee-free family seating proposal could save a family of 4 up to $200 per round-trip flight. That rule would require airlines to seat kids 13 and under next to their parents within 48 hours of buying their kids a ticket. If adjacent seats are not available, parents could get a refund if they don't want the flight anymore. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says it's common sense and should be standard practice to seat kids next to their parents. Butler legend and Brownsburg native Gordon Hayward is retiring after 14 seasons in the NBA. Hayward nearly beat Duke back in that 2010 national title game, but his last-second shot hit the rim. The Utah Jazz then made him the 9th pick in the NBA draft. He played 7 seasons with the Jazz. He also played in Boston, Charlotte, and Oklahoma City. Hayward was an All-Star in 2017 and won gold medals in the 2012 and 2016 Olympics. Want to give you a look at the primetime lineup at the Summer Olympics. It all starts tonight with swimming. You'll see the women's final of the 200-meter butterfly and the final of the men's 200-meter backstroke. You'll also see the women's gymnastic all-around final. Then it's back to the pool to see the semis of the men's 50-meter freestyle. Also this evening, you'll see the final of the women's 200-meter breaststroke, followed by the final of the women's 4x200 freestyle. Happening right now, the world's largest tabletop gaming convention is here in Indianapolis. Gen Con kicking off today, and it'll run through Sunday. Gen Con has been in our city since 2003, and for the first time, it was sold out before opening day. So even without a badge, there are still plenty of events near the Indiana Convention Center that you can attend. The Indiana State Fair will start tomorrow. Rides are inspected. The fair food is ready. Marina Silva went to the fair today as crews prep for opening day to see what they have to offer when you go.
Indiana state law requires that amusement park rides to only be inspected once a year. But the state fire marshal's office says they inspect the rides before the fair, no matter what.
It takes about 2 days for all the rides at the state fair to be inspected. Some of the rides come from all over the country. Inspectors are looking at making sure all the screws are tight, the seatbelts work, wheels work, and the ride operators are doing what is expected. Each ride is also equipped with an 800 number. That number is for anyone to call should they think there's something wrong. Then a safety inspector can come check it as soon as they can.
The public is our eyes and ears when we're not at every single ride.
While the rides are ready to go, the state fire marshal's office says they plan to have people here every day just checking on the rides and making sure everything goes smoothly. Reporting from the Indiana State Fair, Marina Silva, 13 News.
Marina had the best assignment today because she was out there sampling a lot of the fair food and said it was all really tasty. So
oh, man.
Can't wait
Good
for
her.
it.
Yeah.
All right, final look at the forecast, Matt.
Yeah, we've got some scattered windstorms south of Indy, but some new cells are popping up right now. I want to show you live Doppler 13. You see the strongest cells definitely to the south of Bloomington, but we've got some new ones popping up on the radar near Danville, Brownsburg, Pittsboro, headed towards Lebanon, Zionsville, and eventually surrounding the Indianapolis area. So that's going to be the case until about 8 o'clock. We've got some scattered storm chances across central Indiana. Angela and I are in. As they continue to get stronger, we'll have live streams for you. We'll have more updates, Scott, as we track more weather throughout the rest of the evening.
All right, Matt, thanks so much. Thank you for joining us here on WTHR Plus. Hope you have a great day.